Can you check if anybody's there?
Oh, you booked it. You booked it in advance. Okay, yeah, yeah. Oh my God. I don't miss. Oh, that's yeah. We're there. Oh my God, one
We are
person.
there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, we've been here for a couple of minutes. So, yes.
Facebook.
Oh, wait, it's time. Okay, money. We need to check is that it's on Facebook.
Let me know when you're. When do you want to wait?
It's 9 o'clock. It
It's 9 o'clock.
started, as far as I know. We're
I
live.
can't see you on Facebook though.
I know we're live now. Facebook. Okay. Okay, I think we're good.
Good to go.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, and the link is taking them to YouTube. So, Imani, let's rock and roll.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, greetings, everyone, beautiful souls. We're here with an amazing guest, Edison, Mr. Edison Agbandje, who is an amazing spiritual teacher. And today we're going to be talking about how you can fix the modern day relationships. So, before we go into the questions, we are going to ask Mr. Edison Agbandje, or Brother Edison, as I call him affectionately, what tell us about yourself. Tell us a bit about your background. How did you get into this knowledge and wisdom and changing lives as you do?
Amazing. Even on my own page, I got to introduce myself. Okay, my name's. You think you would turn that straight? No, my name is obviously Edison Agbandje. I've been doing this for about 30 years. We run a company called Ancestral Essence. What we've been trying to do is essentially demystify what people think of as African traditions and African systems. Essentially, we've taken the Western idea, gone through all those traditions and religions, and we brought it back to the people. So each individual comes into the understanding of themselves, realize that they are their own religion. And essentially, what they should be trying to master is the essence of themselves. Um, so, with the courses we do and the things that we do, we're essentially trying to give yourself back to yourself and empower you. Today, we wanted to do this because essentially, this is one of my favorites or least favorite. I say only because of the details that we might go into classes when we're doing the course. When we're speaking about the sexual health class and the different reasons why people get in relationships and how they seem to attract the same thing all the time and a lot of different things, we find that the way that people are emotionally attached to what they think is right or wrong can really get in their own way. So we wanted to go through some of the things that we understand from a spiritual principle that is sometimes out of people's logical thinking. There's a reason for everything, and today we're not going to pull any punches, and we'll speak about entities, about energies, what is transferred across, and how the dynamic of your parents and relationships is really what your life is all about. People think that they live for their careers, but their careers is what they have when they don't have a relationship.
Wow.
So go ahead. Imani is going to be my partner in crime today, and we're going
Yay.
to, yeah, ask questions. And if we get questions, in the room and stuff like that, we're going to try and answer them as well so that we can explain or express. It's not that I've done one of these before live. So this is the first time. People, please bear with us
Same for me. Yeah,
for my own page, so to
be
speak. So
patient with us, and I'll tell you what, the quality of the wisdom is, top class, and we're working towards matching that with the technicalities. So yeah.
indeed, 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 indeed. So yes,
So wow, Brother Edison. Obviously we've had calls not like this, but we've spoken before, and people
agreed.
know. Hi, Shelley Gondo and Empress Magic. So, Brother Edison, I want to ask you just quickly, relationships. What's going on generally with modern day relationships?
Well, this is as far as it's wide. This is something which, sadly, the relationships that we have with ourselves are somewhat wanting. We've grown up in a society and a reality where essentially everyone is trying to separate people, giving them their individual titles and power, and creating this void where we're in relationships no longer to mend each other, but more to repair ourselves. So we're in a scenario right now where I'm hoping things change, so that people can get into better relationships with themselves so they can share the best of themselves with people that they're involved with, and not bring a situation where everyone is trying to repair themselves at the expense of their new relationships.
Wow. So, hi Lola. We've got some people here who's sharing their greetings, and
Excellent.
thank you for being here, lovely ladies. There's a wealth of knowledge here from Mr. Edison Agbandje, also known as Brother Edison. So, Brother Edison, so can we go back to the beginning then? So, because I know you feel that it all starts right at the early stages. Talk to us about that. What's happening between naught and seven with children and beyond?
Well, the funny thing is, children are the original sponges. And between naught and seven, especially the child, what do we say, hasn't long come to this world. So when we're speaking from our ancestral paradigms, we're always understanding that the child still retains the knowledge of who they were before they came here.
Yeah.
All of us come with this concept of what we've come to do and what we've, as our mission when we come here to this life. Things like relationships, we are, what do you say, predisposed. It's built into our DNA. It's built into events that are going to happen in our life at some time. So between naught and seven, unfortunately, we go through the process where you're put into a system. I say you're initiated into the matrix or reality, and the essence of who you were, what you came here to do, is replaced by an identity you didn't create. So essentially, someone is now giving you a set of principles and a set of ideas, and literally, you're now getting into the point where you're trying to prove yourself to everyone around you. So the parents and the children, this is an incredible time because the children are watching their parents like the gods and the goddesses, because to their mind, before they've been given any sort of religion, these are their kings and queens. And the actions of the parents. Unfortunately, people can spend much of their lives trying to fix their childhoods. That becomes the basis of what they go on and do for the rest of their lives. So the the relationship that you experience between 1 to 7 or 1 to 10 sort of determines how you view yourself towards the world and what you're now going to spend your rest of your life trying to fix in whatever way you can.
Wow. So taking that into, before we go, Vanessa, greetings. Adisa and Deborah, greetings to you. We're speaking to Brother Edison, who's talking about relationships. So when we go into the teenage side of things, what happens there, do you think?
Well, the hardest thing is when anyone comes into their version of puberty, boy or a girl, we always understand that essentially who you are, the conscious idea of who you are, is struggling to try and work out how to use of their body. Let's speak the truth. It's a shock to everyone when their body starts behaving certain ways when they come to their teenage years, and essentially who they are and who they're supposed to be at that age kicks in another set of hormones. So the boy that used to play with his friend that was a girl and thought nothing of her, all of a sudden his body, because it's been written into his DNA, is now going to react to her in a certain way. He doesn't understand it, to be totally fair, and nor does she. So they take their lead from society as to how they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to conduct themselves. So
Mm.
it gets to that age when you hit the teenage years where your body takes over. And now you're coming into what is a woman, because this is what's happening to your body as a woman. And as a man, people struggle with the concept of what is a man, because sadly, this is more a political concept than it is an actual biological one.
Wow. So, greetings, Narisa. We're here with Brother Edison, and we're talking about how to fix modern day relationships. And we've gone from looking at being a child from 0 to 7 to teenage, and what happens when we go out into the big wide world and start working and interacting with other people. What are we
This,
doing with that early stuff? How
well,
does
it
that?
really, it's dependent on the generation that you're coming from,
Mhm.
because we're now in the social media generation
Yeah.
where there is not as much stuff passed down from their elders as before.
Mhm.
Because there'll be a time when you'll hear me say that children were prepared for their future. In their homes, their parents prepared them for being mothers, being girlfriends, being partners, being wives. And men were prepared to be husbands as well. But that's kind of gone by the by right now. So everyone is looking for entertainment, and people are looking at very surface values, things that they see in people, and essentially plans for the long term, almost forgotten about. No one's really taking those things into consideration. So now everyone is free, but there's nothing that is free. Later on, what you did when you was young will become situations when you're older.
Mm. Greetings, Angela.
Yeah.
So taking all that, people going into relationships with this modern day mindset, what do you see happening along the way?
Well, at this moment in time, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of unfortunately, because we really want things to get better and we want to look at a different mindset going into this. But we have a younger generation that hasn't had the wisdom filtered down from the older generations. So the children in their, I don't know, almost like fast food life nowadays, isn't it? Everyone just wants everything fast. No one
Fast.
wants to wait for anything. No one wants to see anything grow. And people are not sure what the future looks like. So it's hard to plan for those situations in the future. So I'm sort of concerned, especially for the younger generations, 14, 15, because they're just not aware of all they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to be. And if they follow what they see on the media and everything like that, they get to spend too much of their young life doing things that they're going to regret when they're older, and being in a position that they might not mentally be in a scenario where they can take on a proper relationship, bringing up children, sort of conducting themselves in a not sort of responsible way, but in a progressive way with all the memories. See, the problem is we consume our life. We consume every moment of our life. As it goes, as we see it, our eyes are like mouse taking in the pictures that we see, and we store everything we see within our body. So within people's bodies, they have all the memories of all the things they've done. And once you have an experience, your body essentially consumes what you've just seen and stays there until you can find a way to actually release it. So my fear is essentially as these children go through so many experiences, there'll be a time when essentially they can't get rid of this stuff. And they're going to go into new situations trying to fix their old situations. And we're going to have a paradigm where when they speak of what you call mental health,
Mm,
that will be the standard health. People at that position where they're functioning in a sort of deteriorated mental state, that will be the norm because we've got there now where people essentially feel that you can mistreat people and everything's going to be okay. This, when we say spiritual paradigm or the karmic paradigm of how people are going to receive what it is they give, it's almost like this is forgiven or forgotten because some people remain the perpetual victim. So even when they're hurting someone else, they will use their victim status to justify what it is that they've done. So we have to go back to the beginning, start at the drawing board, and essentially speak to the virtues of what a woman is, speak to the power of what a man is, and have children become aware of these things, not just from an emotional fantasy level, from how people actually think, how women's minds are constructed, how men's minds are constructed. So they actually give each other what each other actually needs, not ask of each other what it is that they want for themselves.
wow. So a mismatch of the meeting of the
Well,
minds.
as you say, bodies join together, minds don't.
Wow. Just want to say, Empress Magic said, very true. I was speaking to a sis how her parents are not raising their children to be husbands and wives. So people are noticing the difference. Greetings, greetings, Aminette Kells and Tiffany Green. So we are talking to Brother Edison about fixing relationships. So, Brother Edison, taking it to the next
Okay.
level, what can parents do to help their children?
Well, parents first need to have better relationships essentially with themselves. You can't do what you don't know what to do. Yeah, we've just been allowed for the last 20, 30 years to actually follow whatever systems around us. Been sort of led by TV, led by the media, led by situations where essentially we're not confident in ourselves to be the best of ourselves. And we find ourselves leaning too much on our partners for the energy required to balance us. So the parents first need to be educated, or I wouldn't say educated, just realigned with their older selves, what they saw their parents or grandparents doing, because those guys knew how to keep a relationship going. And nowadays, people have so much choice, they have no options at all.
So, I mean, obviously that's, yeah. And some people would say, going back, they'd say, going back to the old days, it probably wasn't so good there. What would you say to that, Brother Edison?
Well, again, at the end of the day, look, you can have all the careers you like. You can have be a captain of industry. You can create all these different business paradigms when you're young. By the time that you're older, no one will remember the industry that you're probably in. What you gave your life up to go and fix, no one has any concerns about that. But you spent your years and your time trying to build your better perception of yourself by waiting for others to give you that kudos, give you that situation. So now everyone is free, everyone is equal, but everyone is more sad. Weddings don't happen the way they used to. People are not planning for that anymore. The guys are not planning for it. Women will always think of it because that's just how they're built. But the relationships are such that nobody sees the reason for it long term anymore. So as long as that mindset is there, how are people going to keep longevity for their children? How are they going to be able to stay together to build a foundation to raise themselves? We're buffering a lot.
And that's where we are now, aren't we? Greetings, Anita. I don't know if I mentioned, I might have said before, but what I would say to you. So these days, people are talking a lot about abandonment, and we're hearing this term, the narcissist. So,
Favorite subject.
can
Yeah.
you talk to us about what is the narcissist? How does someone become a narcissist? Is that a real world word, or are we kind of just talking about someone who hurt our feelings? And
Yeah.
yeah, go into that, Brother Edison.
The narcissist. Okay. What we're really speaking of is essentially the way in which someone has created a personality type from within themselves to protect their more fragile inner self from the outside world. These are normally created when you're young, when you're a child, and you've been in situations where essentially you wasn't able to defend yourself. So what happens is, deliberately or non-deliberately, inadvertently, we create this personality can come up within us and essentially act as our protector. Now, this personality is one where essentially it's almost not the person, even though you're seeing the person. This personality comes up whenever the person feels challenged or whenever the person feels like someone is taking advantage of them based on what they went through when they were younger. Well, there's many types, but what I tend to find is there's the covert one, not covert, I mean passive one and aggressive one. There's the one that essentially will is is literally giving the person who they are supposedly protecting, they are literally feeding off their environment, anyone in their environment. What do we say? There's the old saying, and if you get in a conversation, the way to tell a narcissist is one, they never answer a direct question. Whenever you ask them a question, they start spinning from the buff, from the jump. Yeah, they get to shame you, they get to insult you, they get to guilt you, and the thing is, they're never wrong. They're always in a paradigm. Wherever you're having that conversation with them, when you ask them a question, they'll be telling you what you did wrong. They'll be going to different memory points and they won't give a straight answer to a straight question. This energy is only there to protect that individual because the inner core of them is soft and it doesn't want to be hurt. So this personality is doing whatever it can, it's putting a shift in wherever it can to make sure that this person on the inside is never attacked. The only problem with this narcissist, the only time it's happy, or this energy, I should call it, the only time it's happy is when it's winning. When it
Right.
gets you to behave in a certain way, that's when this narcissist entity is saying, "Hooray!" It can't love. Don't confuse yourself with a narcissist. The entity itself can't love you. The person can, but the entity can't. The entity is only happy when it's got control of you, and it's one that it will be demanding love from you all the time because it needs to feed off that to give it a position, to give it a situation. So it's always in control of you. Yeah,
Wow.
you have the passive type, which is the one where the person always says, "If I let them have their way, I'll be okay." So in another way, it's protecting you, but it's allowing everyone to walk all over you. And you
Oh,
felt that this is the way to defend yourself in a situation by not defending yourself. Yeah, and just letting everyone say, "Well, if I let them have their way, eventually they're going to leave me alone." So these are entities, energies, personalities created within individuals to protect them. So the intention, I suppose, is good for the individual who has it, but for everyone else that has to live with that person, it's a nightmare.
Brother Edison, why is that happening more? Why are we hearing about this more and more? Is it that things are changing and there's more of these people coming through? And just want to say that, Tiffany is saying the narcissist is the one that will victimize you, and, they won't take responsibility, and they're manipulative. Also, Angela saying that it's buffering a bit, Brother Edison. I don't know if you're
Yes, I
aware.
know. I don't know what we can do. Like I said, please bear with us. It's the first time. We're hoping our
Yeah, we're
internet
new to
connection
this.
and it gets a bit better. But yes, please bear with us. It's nothing much we can do. We've let the reins go and hope everything flows. But yeah, what Tiffany said is absolutely right. The thing is, the way in which a narcissist works on you the most is in a constant state of devaluing you. They'll be always telling you what you're doing is not enough, that if you did a little bit better, it would be good for them. And they're always looking for a situation where the energy knows, if I can keep you in a low vibrational state, you will always be looking up to them for their acknowledgement to see that you're doing okay. And that's the position that that energy wants you. Then it has an element of control of you. Yeah,
Wow.
and as Anita said, it keeps bringing back the past because it can't answer a question in the present. Whenever you ask them a question in the present moment, they will go back to a past moment where you were equally as at fault and bring that up instead of answer and say, you know what, um, I did wrong. I was wrong in that moment. There, the energy can't accept defeat in any way. So it will constantly keep spinning, trying to shame you, trying to guilt
Mm,
you, trying to put you through these different emotions so that you're essentially on the back foot all the time. Yeah. So yeah,
okay.
it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, there's we do a whole big 6 hours now, the last class we did on narcissism, because we went through all the different ways in which these things affect your relationships. They actually destroy relationships because whoever is in a relationship with them, they will love that person until that person essentially breaks. The narcissist entity breaks that person by asking more than that person can handle and not offering anything in a way of thanks for that person being holding to that character all the time.
Angela's got a question, but don't we all need these entities when appropriate in order to maintain balance in this matrix?
Okay, let me explain, if I can, what happens when we speak of entities in your mind and how they impact you. Most of us all the time are having conversations within ourselves. And when we speak of ancestors, whenever you're in that moment where you've taken a picture inside your mind, because we listen, create a picture, have a discussion within our mind with our ancestors before we speak. So before anyone speaks, they've had a little conversation first. The problem is, in that conversation that you have before you speak, these entities can be part of the discussion. And these entities only have one mission in mind, or a couple, to lower your vibration and to allow you for other more higher vibrational thoughts to permeate your mind. So you're in an emotional condition that people are struggle to be around you. So they bring this anger up, they bring this pain up, they bring wanting to always be in control. So these entities are pretty hard to control. I know I get into conversations with people regarding egos and things like that all the time because people are of the beginning of the belief that egos are good. Um, how does we say? For me, aspirations are good. Being the best you can be is good. But to have an energy within you constantly putting you down, telling you that you're not good enough, having you spend weeks or hours getting ready, always feeling self-conscious when no one is even looking at you. The thing is, everyone has these energies doing exactly what you think is happening to you. It's what you think is happening to you is happening to them because these energies are a group of entities, as we call them, but we normally go into more details in courses. But essentially, these energies are in your mind having the conversations that you wish wiser ancestors were having with you. And as such, these energies are giving you bad advice or keeping you locked into your body and constantly valuing yourself by how you physically look. Yeah. And as regards to the matrix and keeping balance in the matrix, our aim is always to get you to vibrate outside of the matrix, because the matrix is simply
Mm,
design. It's not your design. You can't win or you can't be a hero in another man's story. Your position has been already created within this story. So essentially, all that will ever happen is you will rise to the level that they've agreed you can be. So
wow.
putting yourself in the position of being in balance in the matrix, there's a way you can escape it. So you're consciously looking at it as a game. You're not looking at it as your life. You're not looking at it as something to fix. Because the biggest trick is to get everyone to fix their matrix story. And it was deliberately broken so that you never had time to deal with yourself. Yep. As a need,
Mhm.
no accountability. That's kind of how a narcissist works, because essentially, and it's, as much as it sounds crazy, their physical body can't handle the idea of them being wrong in that way. The pain that they generate within themselves, they'll do anything. This is when you see people start saying, "You're not perfect either," just so that they can share the act of what they've just done and spread the pain with you, who they did the act to.
Wow. Serious stuff, Brother Edison. Um, so we're in this modern time with this type of behaviour becoming more prevalent. Um, what I would like to do now, look at how two people come together in the first place. Can you sort of talk about the attraction? Because I know we're going to look at sexual transfer and all those things, but
Okay.
if we can start with just that attraction, what is it? What's going on?
Well, nothing happens by accident. Can you imagine all the millions of people in this world? How do you end up with the person that you actually end up with? Yeah. All right.
Yes.
I was waiting for that one. All right. How do you
Shelley.
end up with the person that you end up with? Um, it's not an accident. This, and you notice the people that you have your longest situations with, there's no chat up lines. It's just a straight conversation. And before you know, you're agreeing to what this person may be suggesting. Oh, yeah. And your mind that would normally discard 10 people coming along, this person doesn't say anything. And you just simply go along with it. We have a saying that instant attraction takes lifetimes to create. The reason why you get on with this
Yeah.
person is because you've been in many lifetimes with them, and all of a sudden you see them, and both of you just fit in with each other. You just fit in sync because you've done this before in previous incarnations. So when we're meeting someone, these are pre-designed destinations. I will tell everyone I'm not one for astrology. It's a lot to learn, and I respect all of those that have the patience to do so. But what I will say, there is alignment. So people are aligned to meet other people at certain times. You'll turn up at that place at that time. There was a friend of mine, one of the ladies that did the course, and she tells a wonderful story of how she was on her way to work on the bus. And she started striking a conversation with a guy on the bus. And when it came to the stop that she was supposed to get off, she went past it because she was enjoying this conversation with this guy. And then she phoned her work and said, "I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late. I missed the bus stop. I missed the bus stop to get off." And her work promptly told her, "You're not scheduled to come in today."
Wow.
A year later, she was telling me how she had a child with this man. So, what was that? If she hadn't got up thought that she was going to work, got on that bus, met that guy, it would never have happened. If she was in her right mind and not thinking, or thinking, I'm not supposed to get up today, such a thing wouldn't happen. So all these accidental meetings that we perceive are going on are really incidences that have been planned all along. So we have these spiritual magnets that our bodies find whoever we're supposed to be. Doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter what size. I've seen people that are 4 foot and 6 foot, and they both looking at each other with happy eyes. And I say, how does that work? But we're not seeing that those two consciousnesses actually know each other from before. So what we're seeing is the outer shell, but the actual consciousnesses know that they're supposed to be together for whatever time. It's not always forever. This is the problem. I suppose religion has created that forever, ever, forever, ever thing. But ultimately, it's for as long as you're supposed to be with that person, because you come here with agreed moments of how long you're supposed to be in a relationship with someone. Um, as we say, as soon as the fizz or the bubble runs out, sometimes it's to go. And some people stay in situations longer than the sell by date, and then either one of them or one of them becomes sick because their body can't handle being in that position. As regards to the constant, the classic twin flames, which is one of my jokes, because essentially people, when they're in relationships, sometimes they have to define it. And the better they define it, the more saucy or brilliant it sounds. So someone would say, this is my friend, not very strong. This is my boyfriend. Okay. This is my partner. Okay, this is my husband. Wow, this is better. This is my soulmate. Then, when you want one step higher, this is my twin flame, which is suggests that two of their consciousness came out the same spark of creation. The way that we understand twin flames is that all of us, once upon a time, didn't have a body. We're effectively essences. And basically, the spark of our creation and the family that we came from came out of the same flame. So, two people coming out of the same flame of creation, they will meet each other in many lives that they go through. And sometimes they'll get together and sometimes they won't. Sometimes they can be brother and sister. Sometimes they can be father or son or mother and son. It's not always a romantic relationship, but it's essentially that they're two essences out of the same flame. And this is why they're always going to meet up with each other in whatever life they go through.
Wow, deep stuff. So, wow. Oh, I think we've got another question. Janet Brown. So if we are okay, you can see that, yeah?
Yeah. So if we're only supposed to
Hi,
be
Janet.
for a certain time, why would you still recommend marriage? Good question.
Oh,
Marriage is really essentially, how do you say, oh God, am I going to go there so soon? Okay, fair enough.
looks like it.
Yes, it looks like it. Marriage takes place when you have sex with someone. The
I
actual
think you need to repeat that, Brother Edison.
marriages takes place when you've had sex with someone, because essentially two of your bodies have merged and all your energies from each other have transferred into each other. You'll never get a closer union than when you're physically with someone. The concept of marriage, from the concept of how do we put it, from a legal paper or legal status, is something which the government issues. It's the government. You have to get a license, don't you? You have to go through a process where essentially both of you, in the eyes of the law, are sort of contractually joined. Yeah. But you've already exchanged all your energies the first time you actually engage in sex with this person. Because as we say, all of you becomes all of me. When you can see a child have the personality of the father, who knew that he was transferring that level of detail across into you at the time that you was engaging with him? Yeah. So essentially, marriage takes place at that point, and you have a link with that person for the rest of your life. Yeah, unless you can find a way to clear that frequency of that person from within you. Okay, but we'll go into that maybe a bit later on. What
What? Yeah, Angela's got a question.
so if you're only supposed to be together for a certain time, would you still recommend marriage? I would recommend marriage. It doesn't have to be legal, but it has to be an understanding for yourself. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate people need security. Um, and the paper or the idea or the rings is more of a psychological security as opposed to one where you could actually put a ring to hold someone in a position. So, as far as building together, creating something together, and if you care for what society says as they actually label your relationship, then marriage is a good thing. But essentially, I would rather you be in a happy relationship than in a bad marriage because you can't get out. All
For
right.
sure, for sure.
So, yeah,
Angela's got a question as well.
go ahead.
What if it's bad sex? She says. She asks.
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter. The fact is, you're climbing inside of a human being or someone another human being is coming inside of you, and at that point all the barriers of protection or you might have in your auric field have been signed away. You have no protection from that person being in your energy and in your space, and whatever they release goes direct into your actual system, into your body. It's not protected by your outside skin anymore. So good sex, bad sex is still sex. So you're still in that position where you're actually swapping who you are with that person who you're with. And as such, both of you have, even if you never speak to each other, your frequencies are going to be left behind within that person.
Wow. So the transference of energies. And what happens in as you go into different relationships,
Mhm.
Brother Edison? Now that I didn't, we weren't going there just yet, but
Yeah, I
since
thought
we
you were going
have,
to warm up into that.
since we've gone there, so you go into that first marriage,
Mhm.
you know, the two bodies meeting,
Yeah, yeah,
and then you go into another relationship. What happens? Do you drag that with
yeah.
you?
Sadly, yes. Sadly, yes, it's one of those things that mothers don't talk about, fathers don't talk about. There used to be the ceremony of the egg in certain African tribes where there would be an egg inserted. I know people have yoni eggs and things like that. I'm not sure it's equally the same thing. But within this egg, it would be created in such a way to pull the energy of the previous man into the egg so that the egg would then hold the energy of the previous person that the egg would absorb, and then you can discard the egg. So they knew, they were aware that they didn't want the energy of the previous man to be troubling the woman in that way. Okay.
Janet's got a question.
Is it necessary to cleanse and clear each relationship? If so, how is it done? Yes, it is necessary. There's various ways. We do eventually show you a way in which we appreciate that people not only live their bodily fluids, they actually leave their energy behind. The man's semen is essentially life force. Yeah, it's the one thing that you could shine a light in the dark with a UV light and able to see the light. He's giving you liquid life that's coming out of this guy. So therefore, the frequency of the energies of the cells stay within you. So in order to clear them, you have to use something that can absorb energy, that can actually take the energy and is specific because the energy of that person within you will not just walk away because you asked nicely. It's something which, when we do our courses, we teach you how to speak to your ancestors. We teach you how to gain the knowledge that you need and the language that you need to be able to to pull these energies out of your system. Because essentially, yes, you could be walking around with two, three, four ex-partners walking around within you, and they can yeah, all be having impacts in your mind, in the rest of your body, in your thoughts, because they're frequencies within you. And each time these frequencies are trying to move within your body to gain more relevancy. This is why sometimes when you no longer think of a person, your body still does, because your body's still holding the frequency of how that person treated you, how you used to feel towards them, and how the energy inside you is still needs them. They become almost addicted.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor Shelley. She's saying it's scary.
Sorry, I wish I
Uh,
could tell you in another way, but the entity and the energy is almost addicted. So essentially, the energies that are left behind by another person, if they're addicted to the other, the person that is now left, they are going to be generating feelings of desire, of need for this person. So even though you've got them out of your mind, you still want to hear their voice. You still want to remain in contact with them. And every time you do so, your body is sort of satiated by their need to make the contact. You and your mind, they say your body, what's to say? Your mind forgives what your body remembers.
mm,
So we don't realize we consume people. We consume all of them, all of their energy, and it becomes like a food that we still need, even though, like I said, we've lost the relationship mentally with them. Yeah. So yeah, we're in a paradigm now where a lot of people unfortunately can't let go of their past because their body doesn't want to. And it's constantly convincing their mind within themselves that, oh, but maybe if I saw them, maybe if they changed, maybe if they did this. And this is, it sounds harsh, but like a junkie still wanting their fix. Because mentally, you know, you can't live with the person, but you still want to be physically involved because the energy of you and them hasn't decided to give up the relationship yet. It's the same for men and women, I'm afraid. Men still have all of their previous relationships because when the woman is in that state, she obviously discharges her energy. So it's like the frequency going into the man and it resides in his testicles. So he has many of the women that he's previously been still residing within him. So it
mm.
goes both ways, I'm afraid.
Angela's likened it to baggage, and I think she's kind
Yeah.
of saying, is it the same? Is that the same thing, or would you say
Well,
it's slightly different?
baggage is yes, because it is baggage, but the baggage is kept inside your body. And your body is trying to release this baggage out into society. It's supposed to release it out into the world because it's constantly coming up into your mind as a reoccurring thought. You know, if you eat something, your body wants to eliminate the waste. So in these situations, your body wants to eliminate the thought. So it's constantly bringing up the thoughts in your mind, hoping that you're now in a position where you're a bit more mature, you understand the situation, and you can write a new program, we call it, that can dissolve that thought reoccurring in your head. So you can essentially eliminate it from your system. Baggage, what do we say? There's the word story and there's the word storage.
Oh, yeah.
And we literally take stories and store them
Oh,
in
then.
our body and in ourselves, in our body. And what you find is, as your mind is the stomach of your experience, your mind is constantly trying to digest situations and scenarios that are taking place within you. And if it can't digest it, this leaves you in a state of confusion all the time. And the energy of that moment then transfers into the body and then starts causing problems for your organs and things like that. So this is why we carry too much baggage from too many situations. And if we can't find a positive way, there's many ways. You know, I have my ways, other people have their ways. but essentially to clear the frequency of that person out of your system, to cleanse your mind and see and balance out what went wrong, how went, what you did, what they did. So essentially, you can move forward without always having to refer back to your past to judge your future.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Afi is saying that if people had this knowledge, they would do better. You know, they would make better choices. Why do you think we don't get this knowledge? Like,
Well, unfortunately, a lot of, sadly, religion, we have a situation where I always say they haven't really prepared us for life. There's one thing praying all the time, that's fantastic. But then why don't you teach a young girl that this is what is happening to her? Whenever she chooses to be with a man, who just giving her nice compliments or what have you, that this is what the man is being leaving behind. And this is also the situation for men. Why don't we educate young men to say you can't just pick anyone to go and sleep with, because whoever they are, whatever they've been through, is part of their blood, is part of their energy. So essentially, whenever you two are mixing energies with each other, you have now taken on the story, the plight, the frequency, the good fortune, the bad fortune of that person that you've slept with. If people actually told you, this is why we laugh with the word recreation and recreation being the same thing. That which you use to recreate life is the same spelling as the word recreation. So people are constantly in a situation where they're having sex as a recreation and not appreciating that they are collecting energies, they're collecting frequencies of different people, and they wonder why later on that they struggle to feel comfortable in a relationship, and struggle to feel comfortable in a marriage.
wow. Angela asks, what do you do if you are already married?
If you're already married, then you find out ways in which you can cleanse yourself. It's never too late. Tomorrow is, a new day to start a new way. So you can always get into the situation where you work on yourself. If you work on yourself, you're always going to be a better partner for the partner that you have. If both of you are trying to find different ways to raise your vibrations, that's two of you enjoying how good you've become. And with that enjoyment, with that understanding, you increase the magnetism that both of you can generate to bring different and better situations in your life. But unfortunately, as you think, is so you are, and so is the magnetism that you create in your life, and so is the events that you bring to your life. Your mouth can lie, but your energy does not. So even if you say that you're okay and your energy inside is not, you're going to see what you think, not what you say. Um,
Shelley says this is why we have mental and spiritual issues. What would you say to that, Brother Edison? Is that why
100.
we got, this mental health thing that we're hearing about?
Well, again, I think we're all functioning wounded, really, aren't we? All of us have gone through situations, paradigm scenarios, and we're always in a state of recovery. We're always in a state where essentially we're trying to, overcome what we went through in the past in the present so we can have a better future. The thing is, if you're not guided how to do this, you're constantly in a situation where you might get into the blame game. That's where a narcissist might work, where they're constantly blaming someone else for who they are, how they are, what they're going through, because they don't actually have the internal energy to fight on their behalf. It's easier to destroy than create. It's easier to get someone else to do it if you think they're willing, or convince them that they would be a better person if they looked after you.
Janet asks, is it best to have the meeting of the minds first?
Well,
And what's the best way to go about that?
in honesty, I do appreciate the old ways where they used to, court each other. and be able to find if they're mentally compatible. But sadly, this isn't always possible because the bodies within the energies within the body are sometimes hard to shut down. And sometimes you may meet someone and your body it won't leave you alone until you get physically involved. And often that's a pastime relationship where both of you just see each other and you're like, whoa, I want to be reacquaint myself with this frequency again. So, as much as I would love to say the meeting of the minds is the preferable way to go, and if we put that into the children from a younger age and have them understand why, don't just say don't do, because the child will
Mm.
be disobedient. That's how a child is. Give them the actual ramifications of what they might do, not in a fearful way, but in a spiritual science way, so that the person actually realizes if I get with that person that's going nowhere, they've signed my destiny too. Yeah, so your situation, you could be studying, doing all of these things, and then catch up with the wrong person. And that's your lot until you can find a way to change that energy or find someone who can help you clear it. Could be a new partner, could be a friend. But until you clear those things, your body's going to be looking for ways to do so. Yeah. All right, what are the best ways to meeting of the mind? This is why I hear the common phrase nowadays, I'm talking with someone. I'm talking with someone. I never used to hear it when I was younger, but now I'm talking with someone. I'm talking with someone. It's almost like each person is trying to feel each person out, which is a great thing because, like always, you don't know who a person is until you've seen a few of their personalities.
Mm.
Yeah, who we refer to people as the die. So you'll see a die, not a dice, but a die has six sides, but it's still the same object. And all of us have how many sides? The side we are with our parents, partner, kids, friends, work colleagues, all different personalities, all basically coming from the same body. So whoever sees us in different roles, like they'll see us at work and then they'll see us outside, they'll barely recognize our personality and how we carry ourselves. But if you have time to speak to a person and see them in different situations, you will see if their past is leaking into their present. If you spend enough time,
Mm.
both have frank and fair conversations, you'll see even in those conversations if they're fair and frank. Because sometimes someone say, I'm going to have a frank conversation with you, then reads the right out at you. And then when you say, I'm not sure I agree, they said, oh, you're not. They'll start, the narcissist entity will be trying to fill you out and see if they can put you in a position where you're devalued or think you're less than that person. And then now you're looking for that person for acknowledgement. So find out, the old saying, isn't it? Drive it before you buy it. I don't mean physically, I mean yeah. So try and find out who this person is, how they are. So essentially, before you commit yourself physically to this person and can't take that back, at least you actually knew what you were getting into before you got involved.
Wow. Some big questions there, Brother Edison.
So what's that?
Some big questions that's been asked, and some great answers from you as usual. So with all this, with the attachments of, and we've done the cleansing,
Mhm.
is what else can people do? What can people do now? Because as Angela said about being in a relationship, because you don't want, you're not advocating that people leave their relationships,
No, not at
now.
all, not at all, not at all.
And I know you mentioned, they can do the baths and the cleans, and you're going to teach that thoroughly in the course.
Yeah, there is
So,
a process. I wish I could explain all of it in a nutshell, but we do courses where we essentially give you the um, understanding within yourself to teach you within yourself so you can do this for you, you can do it for your family, and you can do it for those that are around you that need to know how to cleanse these energies out, not just from relationships, but even in work environments. If you understand you're an electrical magnetic being, everyone you come in contact with actually leaves part of their energy with you. You're this person that's picking up all different pieces in your auric field. Now, if your vibration is high, that's fantastic, because ultimately that means that essentially you can prevent these energies from coming into your system, taking over your mind, and then controlling your behavior. So, what you effectively, but though when you get home, you're bringing in all these situations into your house. So, you need to know how to cleanse these energies off you every day, to cleanse your home, to cleanse your family. If your children are behaving in a certain way, or your partner, whoever, look at what's going on around them. Look at who's infected them and see if there's someone with bad luck giving them bad luck. Can you imagine if you can catch a cold of someone by being,
Mm.
what energy can you catch being around them? There's the visible ones where I see someone sneezing. What about the invisible ones where they have an even greater impact on you?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, Tiffany's asking or saying cleansing isn't just a one time thing, it's something you have to do over and over and over again.
It's a daily process, to be fair. People are very happy to clear their skins every day,
Hmm.
natural and hygienic. But do you clear your energy every day? Do you clear the attachments even from within yourself sometimes? Because your own personal thoughts, if they're of a low vibration, they're going to remain in your skin because you excrete energetically everything you think and everything you deal with is coming out of your system. So essentially, we're always looking for ways to know this is the basics, the foundation, where you just understand your life in that way, where you're constantly in a position where you are clearing yourself from being in environments that you don't want to be in, but you feel financially you need to be in. Or you're afraid to just get up and say, I'm getting a headache, because these are classic signs. If you're in an environment where you just start sweating for no reason, or you
Wow.
get a headache, or you feel suddenly tired, these are situations where the energies of the people that you're amongst is trying to invade into your system, and your body's trying to shut down to have the relevant energy to be able to do what it needs to do. Yeah. Okay. So yes.
Angela's brought up work. So we take all this into work. And she was saying that she needed a, spiritual cleansing
Mhm.
from people at work.
100%. Um, Work, you don't control that environment. You're in an environment where people walk in from the street, all different stories, all different scenarios. You don't really know what your colleagues get up to in their own private time and how those frequencies are attached to them. You don't know people walking in off the street or whatever environment. All of these things, how does one say, if you appreciate that air, it's really just water refined. So essentially, if you're in a room with someone, you're essentially having a bath with them. Yeah. Your energy, their energy is intermingling. And as water is the conductor of electricity, the air is the conductor of sound and also the conductor of energy around you. So we're constantly being in a state where we're being bathed by everyone's energy around us.
Wow, that's all I can say. My goodness. So, and then you take that home again. So it's like a recycled thing, isn't it?
100%. Um, the thing is, objects around your home, your chair, your towel. Can you imagine how much energy does your towel hold if you don't change it frequently? All the times that you're cleaning dirt off yourself and you're using this towel is holding the energy of all those thoughts and feelings that you have. Your bed, that is number one, where you sit there and discharge all the frequencies and thoughts you have throughout that day. And your bed head. where the energy comes out of the top of your head and stays there in that bed head, vibrating. So whenever you go into that bed, that energy tries to make its reacquaintance with you and attaches to you so that it can start giving you a headache or affecting your sleep.
Wow.
Yes.
So yeah, relationships. So this it's such a broad thing, but the intimacy seems to be the one, like someone said, very, very scary. But all your other relationships, they get entangled into that as well. And in this modern world,
Go
in
ahead.
this modern world, what are we going to do with what are we going to do?
Everyone really has to work. I know it's a cliche, but you really have to work on the relationship you have with yourself.
Yourself.
Because we
Yeah.
say if you can't walk, you can't carry anyone. So if you're not in a position yourself where you can give to your environment or even give to the people that are closer to you, then you become a burden. You become a situation where you're feeding from your environment and you can't provide anything to raise it. Now, many of us are in a state of deficiency because we've gone through situations where we didn't have the clarity to be able to move on respectfully. And these thoughts keep reoccurring in our head and creating situations where we're essentially asking why. And when you're looking at your new relationships with this narcissist energy, and look, everyone has one, so don't be judging anyone to say you're a narcissist, you're this, you're that. Everyone essentially has them working at various different degrees along the scale of aggressive or passive. And these change with different places that you're in. An aggressive one could be passive at work and aggressive at home. So these energies change depending on the environment you're in. But the problem that you have with these energies is that when you're in relationships, after a while, this energy can become your guide and will then bring up situations where they're comparing your previous situation with your current situation. That's why after about 6 months, you get into that paradigm where this person can't be as close as they used to be to you. And then you start hearing the voices of concern in your head. And this is where the narcissist energy is now trying to reassert control because for 6 months, you haven't been listening to it. You've just been enjoying yourself, having a new situation where you believe this new one is going to be better than the last one and is going to save you without you having to go through the healing that you need to do. So when this energy comes in and starts comparing this person to the previous people, then it's starting to have you think, analyze, judge this new situation, and it starts to make you pull back. Sometimes you can stay there in hope for as long as you can, but if this person starts reminding you, or you remind me, and then all the stereotypes come in. Now, I'm not saying everyone, to avoid a stereotype, is like this. And there's people that are balanced and they're ready for a new relationship, but the relationship they really have to get going is the one with themselves because the best version of you is still inside you and it wants to come out and it wants to reflect itself. But it needs you to be in the right state and in the right mind where you're fully free to express yourself. If you're in a situation where you can't express yourself because the person around you is constantly making you feel less, this is going to cause the throat problems in the throat
Throat
chakra.
chakra.
This
Yeah.
is going to create the pains in the chest because we say when you cry, the tears might come down your face, but the pain, the energy from their tears rolls down into your chest and it stays there and creates that tight knot where you're there struggling to breathe or feel that ache in the middle of your chest. And that is the pain from all the gathered emotions that you have from the situations that are around you. So when we're trying to heal or understand who we are, you have to start to realize how to clear those things. Clear your mind, clear your body, clear your essence, change your story so that you're working at the highest level of who you are, then that magnetic force that you generate is only going to attract people at that level.
Powerful. Wow. So finding the true, authentic voice, Brother Edison.
Hmm.
When people say, my intuition is telling me to do this, this is what I'm guided to do.
Hmm.
Sometimes do you feel sometimes it's not quite that?
Um, Intuition is inner tuition. So effectively, it's you asking the question within yourself and hoping that a voice within you answers the question you've asked. So essentially, all of us, we don't think, we ask. We ask at a voice with our voice and energy inside us, and we hope that this voice comes forward and actually gives us an answer. If you ask the question and you hear nothing, what do you say? I've got nothing. Then someone will say to you, think a bit harder, almost go deeper within your own mind to see if there's a voice within you that can give an answer to the situation we're in. There's again, this is something we do explain in quite detail, how essentially within you are your ancestors, are your past lives, are your higher selves, and these energies have been guiding you all along, giving you information on what to do, what not to do, what is risky, what's not risky. How many of us have been in that situation where I said, you know, I knew, but I ignored it and I carried on and it came back to bite me? We've always had them there explaining things to us. So the relationship with our inner selves and our consciousness and our outer actions is really the most important one. You'll always have people's points of views and ideas trying to influence you, trying to put you in a situation where you're acting against your will out of fear of disappointing someone. You can only do this for so long without your body making you sick as a result of what you're trying to do. So, your intuition, that voice within, the aim is to cultivate that, to get it so that that voice shuts out all the other non warranted voices inside your mind. So you're in a situation where you're working with that one voice, you're working with that one energy, and that voice has the capacity to see into the future and also recognize actions from the past. That's why we say as your parents guide you, your ancestors will guide you too. And it's not something which is superficial, airy fairy. It's what all of us are experiencing all day, every day.
And that's what the course is about.
Well, that's what
Know
I was about.
thyself.
Yeah, no, it's in the line, isn't it? Know thyself. But essentially, with this thing, the whole thing we're always trying to push is essentially the relationship you have with yourself. Yeah, we do go into the aspects of how modern paradigms are essentially not designed for longevity. If everyone is equal, I don't mind, but we're not all equal at the same thing. Yeah, we love the line. The woman is the earth, the man is the world. The woman looks after the home, the man looks after outside of the home. Yeah, no man should come and tell the woman how to run the house. It's her domain. But in the same breath, when the woman is telling the man what to do outside, it's difficult for him to understand because that's his domain. That's where he's working from. That's what his job is, to try and protect her. And I found that everything has become so equal, nobody knows their roles anymore. And the fact is, your biology chooses your roles, not your mind. There's one thing being very strong and very powerful verbally, but then if you can't back it up physically, it may not have been your role. Don't get me wrong, defend yourself at all times, but appreciate if you don't treat each other with respect, then respect isn't due and things will fall through.
As you're saying that, what comes up? Feminine and masculine energy. There's a lot of talk of that at the moment.
Yeah.
What would you say?
No, well, the thing is, feminine is not female. Masculine is not male.
It's an energy.
These energies, exactly, there are temporal intelligences that work with the person. Yeah. The fact is, we will explain in traditions that essentially you'll have, in Ifa, the West African tradition, they'll say Ashe and Ajay, which is the initiating energy, the Ashe. The Ajay is the creative energy. And in life, that tandem of 0 and 1 is found everywhere. Binary, that's where the science of life was created, that 0 and 1. And what does that look like? The woman's private part, the man's private part. That two coming together is what creation is basically stemmed from. So in that paradigm, we're in the situation where the what you call masculine is really the energy that initiates ideas, that creates ideas. And what you call feminine is the energy that creates the idea initiated by the man or initiated by the masculine. Male and female are referring to your body types, and people confuse the two. Women don't own being um, gentle and demure. You have some men that are the most nicest,
Mm.
peaceful characters you'll ever meet. And then at the same time, you've seen some women that are so great at business and things like that, that they'll leave the men that they have around them in their shadow. So we're a combination of both. But our body sometimes, the way it's been designed, has us focusing on different aspects, which in the way that our body is built. Yeah. So women, you know, they have a tendency to be able to speak about subjects much more freely, much longer without having no physical impact on themselves. If you ask women to speak about relationships and the good of them and what they're thinking of them, they can do this for hours. They have the capacity within them to speak because that causes no confusion, that generates no pain within them. Yeah, their mind isn't cut off trying to protect themselves from engaging in that conversation. But have them speak about a sport or something they don't like within 5 minutes. Oh no, I can't take this. Can we change over and do something else? This is actually hurting me.
Mm.
And role reversal for men. That when women are speaking about relationships forever, and he's given his answer once, but the woman needs more answers because she needs to see where he thinks. She needs to see where he is. So she will continue talking about this subject. Whereas the man in that situation, he's giving his answers. His body is in all kind of pain having that conversation, unless he's pushing in a sort of getting to know her paradigm. Once he's known her and going through that scenario, he doesn't have the stomach for that. Whereas if it comes to a solution paradigm, because he knows he's out there to try and fix things, he's got all day. His mind is built to deal with that situation. His mind can hold and stay in those scenarios longer. And that's just how we're built. It's nothing to do with gender, sex. It's nothing to do with someone being funny or awkward. I wouldn't ask someone to be in pain because I think that that's okay with me. We're not the same. We physically look different. We're mentally built to cope with our physicality. So I think there needs to be more understanding of those situations. So when the man is dealing with the woman, he knows who he's dealing with. He understands that he's dealing someone that thinks in a certain way, feels in a certain way. So he's not likely to push the person's buttons because it suits what he wants, and vice versa. So people can work together and not be in a situation where they're fighting to get more out of the situation than they're prepared to put in.
Janet's got a question.
Go ahead.
Is silence the best way to get into the inner you?
Headspace,
Meditation, pausing.
time, meditation, pause usually good. There are direct ways to get straight into the inner you, to be fair, that we have. Um, Meditation is good as long as you have a direction of where you're actually trying to focus and what you're trying to create within your mind. We have situations, meditations that we just happen to have on the course where essentially we have you get into the elements. We have you meditate into fire, into
Mm.
water, into air, into the earth. And we see you actually moving into these energies and having control of them because these energies all exist within your body. And your body is generating heat all the time. So the intelligence behind fire is not the flame. The flame is the child. It's the energy that heats the object to the point of combustion is really the energy of the fire or the energy of the heat or the intelligence that can manifest that reaction. So when you're generating heat within you, you have the control of that energy that can generate heat. The same with water, where imagine how hot it has to be to melt two gases to form a liquid, to change their state. So you have access to these energies within you. So when we're being silent, it's great because essentially you're shutting down voices as best you can. But there are ways that you can shut them voices down, not well permanently. There's always different layers within you where energies are stored, but we put you in a position where you can fight the good fight within yourself, that you're no longer in the position where these voices, feelings, energies from various different ways. Yeah, we can, well, again, if we go into that, it's the stuff we go in. But if the right question is asked, I'll give the right answer. But essentially, yeah, we have a lot of energies, thoughts within us that are constantly asking us to build unwanted pictures in our mind to put us in certain physical states which we don't want to be in. Yeah.
Tiffany has a question.
Okay.
Can you see it, Brother Edison?
Many.
Many men want to be treated as the head of the household,
Yes,
but
exactly.
have no clue how to lead as
100%.
the woman comfortable. Yeah, so you've seen it.
Yeah, as
What do you have
women
to say?
comfortable allowing this, preferring this, how do you deal with this in the talking? This is the problem that we're speaking of, where the men are not preparing their sons, and the daughters and the mothers are not preparing their daughters. We have a saying that mothers are preparing their sons to be the man they never had, to do all the things that they wish the man that they had actually did, to cook, to clean, to take care of the house so that they can have a break. And then they're preparing their daughters to be the woman that they wish they were. And if they're fed up of tidying the house and doing this and doing that, they want their daughter to have the freedom to not have to live their life like that. Now, as great as that is as an idea, it doesn't prepare the children properly because the men go out into the world, and this is one of those oddities. As much as a man is nice to the woman, she's bored. Perfect guy, she doesn't stay with. He does absolutely everything right. Only till she's older does she appreciate that. But when she's younger, she wants the action guy. She wants the guy who's a bit dynamic, the one who gets her blood a bit excited, the guy who does everything correct and says everything right, the one that the mother prepared her son to be for the women outside. That's not the one she keeps. There's a reason why she didn't have that man in the first place, but she forgets. And when she's going through the difficulties, it's easier to turn around and say, I wish I would create the son the way I would want. And the men, what do you say? When they're preparing their sons, if they're in that paradigm, because we had that whole genre of where women were encouraged to have children by themselves so that they can have places of their own to stay. So that whole baby boom, whatever generation has impacted relationships down the road in a totally negative type of way. Anyhow, so the fathers are not there, or if they're there, in the arguments or them trying to find themselves, do they actually know how to prepare their sons? Or are they in balanced relationships themselves so that they can show the correct examples? I'm sure there are relationships out there working in that way, but sadly, we don't see them as much as we would like. So the education or the understanding needs to go back to the basics, needs to go back to those situations where the son is being prepared for his life ahead and the daughter is being prepared for the life ahead. Now, emotionally, the man might want to lead and not have a clue what he's doing. And then in those situations, the woman might want to lead and not really want to naturally pick up work or things outside of the home. So she's not prepared. She's not built to lead in that respect in its totality. But the man may have a lot of talk and say, I want you to behave in a certain way, but not look after the woman to encourage her to behave that way. You can't ask and not give. The same way a woman can't ask of a man to be everything, and she is sitting there judging him and not giving him the same thing back in return. Because essentially, both parties will become disenfranchised with the situation and then look for what they need outside of the situation. And each person will say, why did they do it? If they put their hand on heart and said, not that I did everything I wanted to do, I looked at what he needed to do, not just from a physical aspect. And the same thing for the man. The woman will ask for things every day, not because she needs things every day, but it shows how you care about her every day. And that thing is important to her much more than men have been led to understand. She's not being funny. She knows what you have, but she just has like to remind us sometimes that you care about her and you're thinking about her. But again, these things haven't been communicated. So men might think the woman is greedy and needy when that's just how her body's built. And then the man, in the same respect, he may need the woman to treat him like a king, to feel like the man in his house. And in doing so, he's encouraged to keep that vibration and that balance. And he's encouraged to go out and work harder. Don't get me wrong, that is a guy with his right mind. There's some guys that are happy to just leech off a woman. And such people in the concept of the talking phase, when you're asking the serious questions, you basically find out what's your intentions with your life? What are you intending with your story? Women ask better questions than men when it comes to the beginning of the relationship. They're in a much better position from the outset because what they're effectively doing is looking into their future, looking at this guy. Do you have the potential to give me the life I've dreamed of? Men kind of are not really digging that deep, I'm afraid. They're looking at the woman saying, I would love a happy future. I hope I can be with you and you can provide that for me. And that's as far as he's looked into it. He hasn't looked into all of her character. When he becomes older, he becomes wiser and he will ask the questions he should have asked when he was younger. But essentially, these are the talking phases. These are the things because men don't know. Women don't like men that are not about their business, that are not doing something, that are not planning something, that are not moving situations for both of them to enjoy. That's not the kind of guy they like. And regardless of how physically beautiful and whatever he does in bed, they will leave looking for the future that they imagined. Men, I don't think we're as how do you say, thoughtful in that situation. We're essentially not looking at it from that paradigm where this woman is going to do this. We try to keep her at her word. So if she promises certain things and starts to fail at maintaining those things, we start to lose hope in the future being as rosy as we imagine. So from both sides, these are different things that if we had a better understanding from the beginning, we would work on giving the partner more of what they need as opposed to ask them for more of what we need. And as such, we can have a longer longevity within that relationship and build each other up. So when you go home, you're happy to go home. You're looking forward to go home because you know that home is where your partner is and they're going to prepare you the best way they can for what it is that you need down the line.
Wow, a big answer there.
So,
And yeah, it's good.
who are
It's
you
really
saying?
good. If anyone's just tuned in, we are speaking to Brother Edison, who is a spiritual teacher, and he's talking about relationships and the spiritual aspect of fixing our modern day relationships. Brother Edison, we can't talk about relationships without asking you about love. What does love? Is
Love.
love real? Is what is love? We've heard it said. Some people say
Okay.
whatever love is. What is it?
Whatever love is.
Yeah.
Um, Words often describe an image. Yeah. What image do you get when you say the word love? It's an abstract concept. It's more of a feeling that you get towards a certain situation, a certain thing, a certain concept, a certain reality. When someone says they love you, often what they're really saying is they love themselves when they're with you.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. And as a result, that energy of how they feel within themselves is what essentially they have attributed to you as a result of you being in their life. Because again, that situation of them loving themselves when they're with you is that feeling, that thing. And when you start to behave in a different way and they don't feel that thing from you, doesn't the love diminish somewhat? Doesn't the love sort of lessen? Do they really know you on that level? Or they love the way that you treat them, and as a result, have fallen in love with the frequency they generate within themselves of being in that situation?
it's
Yeah,
powerful.
that's when you're dealing with the love of the body. When you're dealing with the love of the consciousness, this is who the person is outside of what they appear, then that is the way in which they treat you. That is the way in which they communicate with you. That is the way in which they look at you. That situation is them acting from beyond their physical body and acting from a consciousness paradigm within them. And when they're in that situation, it's often because your relationship started before you met each other, started in previous lives, and you're just picking up where you left off. So, in those scenarios and those situations, love is much deeper and it's much more gut wrenching when you have to break up. You can fall in love with the idea of a person as well and be so in love with the idea of how that person has allowed you to raise yourself up that it's like taking a drug from someone. When the relationship breaks up, you're like a junkie looking for that fix because you was actually addicted to that person. You was addicted to their energy. You needed to feed off that person being in your life. You know how it is at the beginning of a relationship. Two of you can stay on the phone for hours, and sometimes you're not even speaking. But the fact that the other person is there, that idea is making you happy. That idea is generating a sense of I'm together, I'm connected. The more you fall in love with the gravity of that situation, the harder it is for you to walk away from it, the harder for you to let go of it. It's like asking a junkie to say, no more drugs for you, cold turkey. That junkie is going to do anything it can to try and get back on those drugs. Yeah. And this is why, regardless of anyone leaving someone, you notice that after a time, when the initial pain is gone, they see that person and they start feeling something. Oh my God. You know, when you finish with someone where you feel nothing when you're around them, that's when you know that the actual energy of the love that you had from them has actually gone.
So staying in relationships
Mm.
too long. Why do yeah, what you just brought up there,
Oh, no.
and
We have a saying that once the bubble gum has lost its flavor, what do you do?
spit it out.
Now, that sounds harsh, but sadly, it's true because how do you say, if you're in something longer than it serves you, it's going to hurt you. Yeah. If you're in a mental situation, I'll always say that people make you cry, but people are the number one situations that create the most painful paradigms inside your body.
Yeah.
If you have a bad pizza, you're going to be sick for a couple of days. If you had a bad relationship, you're going to be sick for a couple of years. Yeah, you can't compare
Wow.
the two when it comes to the impact of you when they're bad. And your body, unfortunately, is carrying the pain of a load of bad days. Yeah.
Wow. So, our bodies, our minds, they're out of sync. We got all this stuff coming at us in the media, and, we're now kind of stuck with so many different paradigms, so many ways to do relationships. Brother Edison,
Go ahead.
what's the thoughts?
Oh
What
gosh.
do we do with
It's
all
serious.
those
That's one of
isolated?
my
Yeah.
most frightening paradigms because um, there's a class that we do, the spiritual man and the spiritual woman. Back in the day, I suppose in village paradigms, because you can't really use them now, that the man's role was clearly defined. How he was supposed to protect his family, how he was the person that essentially financially, strength, whatever he needed to do. He was the energy that took the first hit of the family from the outside. Yeah, the woman's one was to protect the home, to protect the kids, and also in those African paradigms where you've got energy, spirits, all those kind of things, the woman was a natural oracle. She was someone who could see any darker energies coming into the family. She was someone who naturally knew how to fight them so that she could protect her children and protect her husband. Those were the situations where they knew their roles. They knew what they needed to know. They were in a position where they would do what they needed to do to protect their families. Now we're gender fluid, or we're fluid in our comprehensions of what nobody wants to be anything anymore. So the old saying is when nobody wants to be anything, everyone ends up being nothing.
Nothing.
So the man has no value, or the woman has no value in certain places, and the man has no value in certain places, where we always have value to each other all the time. But we're in a paradigm now where essentially we're fluid. Everyone wants a piece of their definition of themselves. And I don't knock it. You're entitled to be yourself. I only ask, what's the longevity of it? Where does it end? What do you want for yourself in the end? You pick something new. I hope it's not like so in the end, does it have a fruitful crop? How do you fit in with your body, with your nature? So I'm not saying anything is wrong. To each his own, your choices are your own. The problem is if you take a route that has no end in sight, what have you actually done? Your life can't be defined by how you physically want to engage with people. That's an act. It's not who you are. And maybe I'm being very judgmental by saying that. It's just that everyone wants to be heard, which is great. And I got no problems with that. It's just the end result. Yeah. If you have a plan longer than how you emotionally feel in the moment, good. If you don't, not so good. Yeah. So that's how I feel. It's a strange one because ultimately, I'm a man. I'll say everyone is right because everyone's making their decisions based on their logic, based on their experience. Yeah. So you're not wrong. If this is all you've known, who's anyone to tell you that it's different? But in my experience, all I can say is, I just want to see where it all ends up. Where are we in 20 years?
Mm.
With no one knowing what they want to be, how they want to be, what they want to do. And all it takes, a lie needs 20 years, a generation to become the truth. And all of us are suffering right now because of the last 20, 30 years when no one seemed to have a clue what to do.
Wow. So, what do we do? What can we do to make sure the next 20 years for our children, grandchildren, what have you, is going to be better than what we've got now?
You have to make an effort. You can't wait or blame everyone around you for the situation that you're in. They're happy feeding of you, waiting for them to give you a clue of how you should be. Everyone's got to find their own internal need to battle, to raise up within themselves. If they're tired, I understand. If they've been beaten back, that I understand. And I can understand that they need a rest. But some people have a rest for 20, 30 years and then sit back and look and say, all they had to
What
do was
happened?
try. What happened to those years? What happened to me across that time? What did I do? I sat there waiting for this person to come forward and look after me, and they didn't have a clue who I was or what I needed. And the last thing, they didn't know what to do. It's not till one day I said, I've had enough. This is a waste of time, that I get up and live my life. Because up until that point, you're essentially waiting for a religious figure, a knight in shining armor, some karmic paradigm, some, whatever term you want to say in a religious way or hopeful way to come and unburden you from what you're not prepared to do. It's going to start with yourself first. Pick up yourself, be the best version of yourself, attract someone who's of the same mind as you. Do not settle for less, settle for the best. It's you only got one life. Don't mess around taking something that could be, might be, because you might not might not do anything. And as a result, when you reflect back and look, you say, I wasted how many years? Keep it moving, keep it going. But give it a fair crack and be honest with yourself. Some people will blame the other person, say, look, you did this, you did that, that's why I did this. Back into that narcissistic
The blame.
thing, the blame game, shame, and all this kind of thing. Whereas if you sit down and say, you know what, if I've lost, I've lost. Regardless if you made me lose and I carry on accepting that and carry on losing, when 20 years goes by and you go off, said, I'm bored of you, you don't do anything. I gave you 20 years of my life. Person's like, well, sorry, I'll find someone who makes me happier. I'm off. What do you do? Who do you blame? You blame them? Well, good for you, but you're not going to get an answer from them. They've moved on. Blame yourself. Yeah? We need the courage to walk up, get up, walk off, and do the very best. Be the very best version of yourself. Because if you're not, then you're doing your own self a disservice.
Wow.
Do we
Well,
want to ask if anyone's got any questions?
yes, I was going to, yeah. Any questions, please? But I was going to ask you
Oh,
quickly,
quick,
Brother
go ahead.
Edison. We live in a time where people are doing dating, online dating, all these different speed dating, all sorts of. What do you think as a spiritual? What
Well,
do you think of it on a spiritual level?
I'll be honest with you. Um, Nothing happens by accident, and sometimes, even in a dating paradigm online, This may be the way in which your spiritual magnets will find the person you're supposed to
Mm.
be with. Yeah, the fact that you click on one picture as on another picture in those dating paradigms will be a reflection of what it is you like, what you've seen in your past, what you hope this person can bring. What story are they saying that looks like something that is compatible with what you want and what you need out of life? Yeah. So
Mhm.
when it's that situation, you basically need that person to come forward and do a lot of work for you. Yeah.
Mhm.
But with this dating thing and how it's going to end down the road, love is going to find love, you know, and it always is going to work that way. Things have changed online. What do you call it? COVID, whatever is out there, has created reasons why people believe they shouldn't do what they naturally want to do. And hopefully, that system of being held back will give them the impetus that they need to go forward and do what it is that they need to do. But essentially, love's going to find love. Stories are going to find stories. People are going to find the people that they meant to find. And if that doesn't work, look for something else. Don't sit there saying this is the only method I know. Look for something else. Get yourself out and about if that's what you want to do. But 9 out of 10 times, find interests. If you have an interest,
Mhm.
look for people with similar interests because at least at the end of the day, if you're not mad physically in love with each other, at least you can talk. At least you can find common ground. And the chances are this person is going to be more compatible with you than someone who just physically excites you.
Shelley says, real talk, Brother Edison.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Please, any questions? This is your live, this is for you. So, any pressing questions, feel free. Brother Edison, I want to
good.
touch on marriages breaking down, older people out there. What is going, what's your thoughts on that? Because back in the day, like people would stay together 30, 40, 50 years. The husband might pass or the wife, and, they just just stay around their grandchildren. But these days, it's changing. What's your thoughts and what's your advice to anyone who might be older out there?
This was not the plan, was it? Yeah. With the whole
I don't,
concept of people staying together forever,
yeah,
everyone was previously okay with that. They weren't tempted by, social media. I don't want to blame that for everything.
no.
People had affairs, of course, but essentially they knew that that wasn't the focus of their relationship. Their compatibility, their need to be with each other, their need to work with each other, survive their infidelities. Yeah, they could still build a story for the children, for this, for that. And the woman or the man didn't value the situation just based on the physical intimacy.
Mm.
I'll be honest with you, men don't see it the same way women do. Yeah. A woman is more likely to forgive than a man. Sounds silly. Because he never really, his whole thing is trust.
Mm.
Most important aspect for a man is to trust the person that he's with is able to be able to sustain the relationship that they're in, able to sustain it at the height and the quality that he needs and would like to have. So, in that respect, the man is constantly in a situation where once his trust is broken, his need to do more for the woman might change. But thankfully, the woman, sees herself as more than just that to the relationship and understands how a mind might work. There's no good cheating. I ain't going to say there's anything good in that respect, but she might be more likely to understand it without it being a total deal breaker for her. All right, older age in those scenarios it's a new phenomenon. It's something which people didn't anticipate in their late 40s, 50s. They would be by themselves and they have to start over again. This is difficult because in the past, their physicality, how they looked, did half of the work for them. But as we get older, things change, bodies change, and your personality becomes more of the criteria than your physical attribute is. And you have to work in a different way. And you're carrying the baggage of all your situations. Yeah, you're carrying the baggage of all of them. So now you're in that paradigm where this new person, do you really want to go back to how you was when you was younger in that relationship, or do you now look to create this new evolved 40s plus relationship? Yeah, where you both have a different understanding of yourself, where you both have things that you've been through, where you might not need to spend every minute with each other, or you might still choose to do so. It's your character, but you know who you are and you know what to ask, and both of you know where you need to do to keep things going.
Mm.
So it's a new phenomenon, and there's many out there by themselves. The word spinster is nothing is a word no one hears anymore because no one thinks in that way. You know the old day, oh, there's a spinster this. That word died years ago. Yeah. So women by themselves have been in relationships. Some of them are too hurt to get into new relationships, and this is very common for the men as well. They're still hurt, still reeling. There's not many support groups for them. So
Oh,
they're in
yeah.
a paradigm where they're trying to reconcile with their past, with what they believe that they gave. And it's the same for women in that respect. It's just women talk about it a lot more. And men are not that comfortable speaking about such things. Yeah.
Mm.
Shelley, yes, you can pick the spiritual oils from our website, ancestralessence.com. You can go to the shop and find whatever it is you're looking for. So, yes, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about the oils, as Shelley just any oils for this situation? What would
This
you
is,
recommend? Yeah,
wow.
to
Okay.
fix your relationship first with yourself,
Yeah.
and then with the others.
Okay. Well, first of all, when it comes to the oils that we provide, they are designed to challenge energy fields around you. Yeah, no problem, Shelley from Germany. Yeah,
Blessing, Shelley.
they're to challenge energies around you. So we have four main types. One, which is the protection, which is a sweet smelling oil that is trying to protect you from, how did you say, when people smell you, they feel you. I know women are very clever like that. They sniff people, don't they? Yeah. If they smell kind of wrong, they're like, no, I'm not sure. Smells a bit funny. And they remember smells, especially of men and people that they've been around. Men as well, but maybe not so much. Um, but this smell is one where when you smell it, it's a sweet smell. But the science and what we put behind it with language and energy is so that it gives people a good feeling around you. So when people smell you,
Mm.
or words that make them feel a certain way, so they feel energy around you, so they protect, it protects you in the thoughts that others may have, and also it protects you with thoughts within yourself, because many of us are in a paradigm where we're essentially having some real negative thoughts within ourselves, and these are energies coming from across the divide. These are things that will explain that within your mind there is two sides. There's that which is you in the consciousness position, and then there's the other side, which connects you to the much wider and bigger inner universe. And energies are always trying to travel across that divide to come into your body and then start controlling your actions and deed. But this is something which is, I suppose, not commonly spoke about. So when people hear, they're like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" But a lot of these energies that we have within us giving problems are coming from within us, not necessarily outside of us. Yeah. So
Wow.
that protection oil is really to start calming your mind down and protecting you from the thoughts within yourself and helping people around you to feel and see you in another way. We have space clearing that we use for clearing energy out of clothes, clearing energy out of your home and around the space, your bed, all that kind of thing, because we're aware that these energies that you have deposited from your thoughts and feelings, this is something which attacks them and clears them so that they're not there trying to rise up within you and put you in a state that you've left as far as you're concerned. We have dragon's blood, which is, I always hesitate with this one because as you get into your spiritual self, you realize that certain energies are attached to you, attached to your back. This is why
Mm.
people, when they're in certain spaces, they can feel a sharp pain in the middle of their back. They can feel pain at the top of their head and they feel pain under their feet because these are the ways that external energies can enter your system from the middle of your back, the top of your head, and under your feet. So, again, some people have some horrendous energies hanging from them. And if you can see these things, you're like, whoa. But not everyone can because they're too
Wow.
busy looking at the person. So, dragon's blood is to fight those energies. And the last one, healing, is really about how your body, everything in your body when you're in pain is often your organs being attacked by an energy. So we put an energy within the oil to attack that energy that is attacking you from the inside. So essentially, it can then eliminate some of the pain and shut down that energy that is trying to take over that organ and create the problems for you. So there's
Mm.
much gone into it, but we really do explain these things as you go along. So you start to realize there are solutions. We are much more than we've been allowed to believe. And who we are as actual people, essences, things is greater than anyone would allow us to imagine. That's the oils. We also have a spiritual tonic, which is used for, which is a collection of metals, gold, silver, titanium, platinum. This is to reconnect synapses, thoughts in your mind so it can speed your thoughts up. And in moments when you're doing things like this, you'll see me with this.
Ah.
Essentially, it allows you to access your thoughts and words much quicker and allows you to hear them before you say them. So you become more effective at public speaking and you're not um, struggling for your words so much when you're there because you'll find if it's electrical audio components, they're going to have gold tips, they're going to have platinum tips because they know that these are better conductors of electricity. This is why
Mm.
you're replenishing your body with these things because ultimately we understand that these things were once upon a time in the ground.
Mm.
And whatever the food you eat takes the minerals from what's in the ground. So when these things were dug up from the ground, we lost these minerals in our diet. So that's the other thing that we have. We're soon to be putting on frankincense that we've got from Oman, the actual pure gum straight from the tree. So we
Wow.
should be introducing that pretty soon. But if people want that, they can leave a message in the comments on the website and we'll be able to organize and arrange that for them. Yep, so that's the products we have other than the courses. But let's for that. Have we evolved more in the needs to communicate with this even at an older age than previously? I'm trying to see if I can understand all of that. Have we?
Do we not are not as needy as we think? Can you
If I,
Janet, can you
yeah, if you
rephrase it a
can
little bit?
elaborate more, but I could, from what you say, have we evolved more in our needs and communicate even? The truth is, yes, one could say that we have evolved more in our needs or we know ourselves better. The only issue is the more we fix, the less we ask for.
Mm. Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the more we fix within ourselves, the less we ask of someone else. And sometimes, as we evolve in our needs, we need to find someone out there, if we're not dealing with it ourselves, that is going to be able to cope with the more needs that we have. Yeah. Who's going to want to take on more than anyone can give? This is a balanced life where if I ask a lot from you, I've got to give you a lot back. But if I've given a lot in the past, I might be reluctant to do that. So talk with a person who understands who you are, that you both work together. And I'm hearing some, oh, how
Oh, yeah, yeah.
here we go.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you. People lived previously. I think it's a strange one, isn't it? People spoke less previously because they had a need to stay together.
Mm,
Nowadays, there's so much choice where I think people speak too much sometimes. Yeah, because they have so many aspirations of what they want and how they think they deserve and all this kind of stuff, that the person who they're looking for might not actually exist in the way they need to. As I always say, it's better to meet someone and build with them than to look for them ready made.
mm,
Because if
mm.
someone ready made them, why would they have left that person to come and make you? Most of us are carrying our baggage from our past, and we need situations where we can raise ourselves to a higher standard. So we don't come ready made. We come with our kinks and our cracks and our scratches and our emotions, and we try to do our very best to fix them, um, by ourselves, and hopefully in the situation of a relationship. Because one thing that is really quite strange is some people can say that I've healed from a relationship, but they've not been with anyone since that relationship. So they've healed from the memories of that relationship. And as soon as they go into another one and they're challenged, like they were in a previous relationship, everything's
Run away.
back, comes all flooding back. You're back in that situation where ultimately now you're behaving like you said you wouldn't. You thought you would got over things, but things that you didn't actually have to experience in that time when you was by yourself. So it's always easy to be good when you've got nothing to be
Yeah,
bad against, you know?
yeah. Thanks for that question, Janet. So, when what you just said there, would you say then it's better for people to not stay on their own like for years and years and years, and then hope to get into a relationship? Would you say, get back in there, get back out there?
100%. What life are you waiting for? The next one? People are waiting for the next life to then do it all over again. So why are you living waiting for the next life to start to live your life? You're here. What's the worst that can happen? The same event over again. I appreciate that. And if that event disappointed you to the point that you feel like you can't try again, I appreciate that. Yeah. But the day that you're going to decide that you want to do something different will be the day that you repaired yourself.
Mm,
Yeah, it would just be one day, your choice. I want to do something different. I want to be myself again. And then you'll get up and do that. Otherwise, you'll sit there, be wallowing in the past, and the person who caused it is probably forgotten about you or not holding you in their mind every day. And you're self persecuting yourself for something that only you remember. No one else remembers this. So no one else has to feel it.
wow, deep stuff. Brother Edison, give the website details.
Yes. Um, the website is ancestralessence.com. We are running a course on the 20th
20th of
of
June.
June. We've actually put in installment plans now. So if someone obviously can't afford the whole totality, they can pay in installments. Now we have two different installment options. So if they sign up with the installment option, they're on the course to start on the 20th. When we're Again, if you think what we've said today is anything, it's nothing. I can't prepare you for what's going to come in that course. We do this and 10 times more. Because we're in closed doors, we can actually say what we like
Mm.
without fear of anyone seeing or hearing what we might say. And the depth of which we tackle these situations, not just relationships, relationships with your parents, relationships with your friends, relationships with yourself, more importantly. Yeah. These are things where essentially we tackle and go into so that we realize at the end of the day, everything is about your um, essence. Everything is about your spirit. Everything is about the self before it becomes the body. And if you can grasp that and get a hold of that, then you're no longer limited to the story that everyone is trying to tell you of who you are and what you are. Yeah. No one is now trying to pigeonhole. If someone comes to say you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you know they're talking about your body. You know that they're talking about the story. They're not talking about you. You can operate outside of the story. You can operate outside of the circle that someone is trying to put around you so that you can't escape and be yourself. So, where again, it's one of these things. I always say the people that are meant to be there will be the people that are there. If that's you and you're ready, then please come along, contact me. If you're whatever the situation, the scenario, leave a contact and we can get into a conversation as what you want to do. I'm always welcome for to have a conversation, to see where people are and see what they want to do. Yeah, again, yeah, the website is ancestralessence.com.
Tiffany is saying wonderful things. She's done the
She's a great
course.
student. She was a great student. Tiffany,
Oh, oh
something
wow.
else. What she's able to do is amazing. And Marva's another one. So
Oh,
I have
too, Marva.
students here that have been through it and they understand that this is something that becomes almost like a group where people have been through that experience and only they really understand what it is that they have now come to understand about themselves. They're no longer sort of working from that paradigm of, I don't know, where am I going to go? Who am I? What is this? What they can now go and investigate for themselves because there's things that we can't say because people will turn around and say, wow, no, that's not real. That's not real. You can't do that. That's not possible. And believe you me, what you're capable of, we can push you to understand. I will not push you, we just let you, we just show you what it is. So you come into that comprehension that your parents brought you into this world, but nobody owns you.
Mm,
Yeah.
love that.
Does anyone have any final questions before we call it a wonderful night?
It was a wonderful night. Brother Edison, is there any last minute things you want to share with people? Tell them about where they can find you. I know you're on the website.
Yes, of course.
You've got podcast,
Yes,
YouTube channel, a
we are
massive
trying.
Facebook page. Yeah.
We are trying. We're really trying to get our name and situation out there because we're doing our best to try and spread an understanding. I won't call it a message because that sounds like we're preaching, but we really want to get out there that people are their own religion. People are their own gods. People are within themselves the capacity to do all the things that they really need to do. They have it all there. And essentially, they just need to eke it out so that they can be what they want to do. This system, matrix, whatever you call, is another man's design. And we have a saying that man created a load of rules, then put it in a book, and then call the author God. Yeah. So they're essentially in that paradigm where they have created. When I say they, I mean, we only need to just look around and see that there's rules for everything, but no one knows who wrote the rules. Where did it start? Yeah. So if we have anything final for anyone to say, even regard to relationships, regard to everything, it starts with self. The better balance you have within yourself, the more you can give to everyone else.
Mm.
Yeah, if you don't have that balance, then are you going to share with someone? Are you going to raise someone? Or are you going to feed off someone? And if you're in a position where you're trying to feed off someone, we understand you're deficient. But
Mm.
obviously, you appreciate that that's only going to last for so long before the other person has nothing to give and has to leave. Yeah. So it's all about the self. It's always been about you, and it cannot be about anything or anyone else. Believe you me, you're the first and most important thing. Even if you have children, the children cannot survive without you. You were merely the vessel that brought them into this reality. The children belong to you to look after, like your parents. But the parents, you belong to your parents to look after. So that responsibility is always there. But your child, like yourself, is going to go off and do what it needs to do because it came with a mission outside of its parents. It came with its own story. It came with its own set of things to do. Yeah. So, no, I thank everyone for turning up today. We'll
Yeah,
probably do
thank you so
another one
much.
maybe and see on a different subject because relationships, as much as I love them, um, it's something which we need to do and talk less about. It's something we need to put implementation in
Mm.
so that people aren't trying to um, feed off each other in a less positive way. And as far as the generations that to come down the road, the elders have to put in the work.
Mm.
Yeah, even if they weren't shown, learn so that what is left behind is better than what was there before. Then you've done your job. Then you've done your works. Then you're someone who's worthy of saying, you know what, I came here and lived this life. Because to do anything else is a disservice to yourself and the reason why you came here. Okay. Thank you,
Brother
everyone.
Everton, thank you so much.
No worries. If they want to get hold of me, please go to our website, leave a message in the contact page, and we'll get hold of you. Please like, what's that? I've not said it before. Like, share, and subscribe on
Subscribe, yeah.
our YouTube page, Ancestral Essence. We're trying to put more videos out where we're essentially going to break down different concepts as often as we can and really start to move the needle because we've been stuck in serving everyone else and not serving ourselves. Yeah, no one really knows how do you serve yourself? Why do I need to go to everyone to ask for everything? Yeah, if I'm a powerful being by myself, which I like to think I am, and which I like to think everyone is, we need to recognize and get to that point where we no longer, I mean, as an individual, ask everyone to help us be ourselves. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice messages of thank you and great insights. And this was powerful. I've got to learn a lot of
Excellent.
work to do.
Okay, everyone, and everyone who watches the video afterwards, thank
Yes, a
you for
replay.
joining us. And we will be back soon with something else, Imani. We'll come up with another concept because, in truth, even if it's for something like the YouTube channel, because again, uh, we have to be putting stuff out. We have to be really working because no one is going to give you anything. And at this moment in time, if you have it, share. Don't save it till you die.
Mm.
Let it out now so everyone can then learn from what you have to say and move to where they need to be. Okay. Okay, I think we're gonna call it a day. Thank you again.
Thank you so much,
See
everybody.
you all soon.
Have a
Yeah,
lovely weekend.
every weekend. Take care.
Thanks, Brother Edison.
No problem. My pleasure. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.